The night I slipped into Liam's room became one of the most unforgettable nights of my life. It started on an otherwise quiet Monday. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, the tick of the clock on my nightstand marking each passing second. I hadn't been able to sleep properly for weeks. The bed felt too large, the emptiness beside me a constant reminder that my husband was rarely home. He said work kept him out late. Sometimes he didn't come back at all, claiming he was too tired after a client dinner or business trip to make the drive. I'd given up questioning it a long time ago, but the creeping silence left behind felt ominous, as if a piece of me had been slipping away unnoticed. Liam, on the other hand, had been staying in our guest room for the past year. He and my husband were old friends, so when Liam needed a place to live between jobs, I agreed. Over time, I found myself noticing details about him I'd never paid attention to before. He was now 24, had a certain strength in his build, and carried himself with a self-assurance I couldn't ignore. The playful guy who used to leave soda cans everywhere had transformed into someone else, someone who made my heart pound with confusion and, at times, a forbidden rush of excitement. I scolded myself for feeling this way. What kind of woman grows attracted to a friend under her own roof? Yet the harder I tried to bury these thoughts, the stronger they became. Late that Monday night, a faint rustle of footsteps in the hallway broke the stillness. My heart kicked up, and I held my breath, listening as the sounds faded. It's just Liam, probably up for a drink of water, I told myself, yet my hands were shaking. I forced my eyes shut and willed myself to calm down. He's just a tenant, a friend. But the tension wouldn't subside. I didn't know why, only that something was shifting inside me. The next morning, I found Liam in the kitchen, leaning against the counter with a mug of coffee. Sunlight coming through the window highlighted the lines of his face and cast a faint gold across his skin. He glanced up when I stepped in, offering a half-smile. "Morning," he said in a low, slightly raspy voice. "Morning," I managed, forcing myself to fiddle with the coffee maker so I wouldn't have to keep looking at him. "Couldn't sleep last night?" he asked. "Why do you say that?" I replied, startled. He shrugged, taking a sip. "I heard you tossing and turning. Figured something might be bothering you." I let out a too quick laugh. "Too much on my mind, I guess." He nodded thoughtfully. "Same," he said, and that single word, same, lingered in the room, heavy with something neither of us would name. That afternoon, I was in the living room folding laundry, the TV humming in the background. Liam sprawled on the couch, scrolling through his phone. It should have been perfectly ordinary, but my eyes kept drifting to him. "Do you ever fold laundry, or is that strictly my job?" I teased, trying to sew. "ND casual." He lifted his head, a crooked grin crossing his face. "I thought that was your exclusive right. I wouldn't want to take it from you." "Oh, you're impossible," I shot back, chucking a rolled-up sock at him. He caught it, laughing, then threw it back in a gentle arc. All right, I'll help." He slid off the couch and crouched beside me, picking up a fresh towel. He folded it with surprising deftness. I stared at him in mild amusement. "Guess there's a lot I don't know about you," I remarked. He flicked me a glance, a warmth there that raised the hair on my arms. "You'd be surprised how much I can do, if I try." My heart thudded at his tone. His words felt lightly flirtatious, but there was something more underneath. I looked away, focusing on the rumpled t-shirt in my hands. "Well, let's see how consistent you are," I joked, forcing a laugh that sounded too airy. "Anything to make your life easier," he murmured. My cheeks heated at the softness in his voice. That evening, I went to bed early, but sleep was impossible. My husband was out again, the bed beside me empty. As midnight crept in, I found myself lonely in ways I hadn't fully acknowledged. The image of Liam's faint smile and the quiet concern in his eyes haunted me. For so many months, I'd been starved of feeling seen. I realized that was exactly how Liam made me feel, visible, cared for. Then came the moment I never saw coming. I heard movement in the hallway, and my heart lurched. I had told myself not to leave my room, not to do anything rash. Yet some force inside me propelled me forward, driving me out of bed and across the silent corridor, until I was standing in front of Liam's half-closed door. My mind screamed at me to go back, but I pushed the door open anyway. Inside, a dim lamp cast shadows on the walls. Liam's back was partially turned. He sat on the edge of his bed, shoulders tense. My breath caught when I realized he was holding something in his hands, a small photograph, apparently of me. The edges looked slightly worn, as though he'd been rubbing it for comfort. He hadn't heard me enter. I saw him run his thumb gently over my face in the picture, an almost tender gesture. My chest tightened with an onrush of shock, curiosity, and a sudden, unsettling thrill. "Liam?" I whispered. Startled, he turned sharply, the photo slipping from his fingers. When he saw me, a stunned expression flickered across his face, followed by a flush that hinted at embarrassment. He scrambled to pick up the picture, pressing it to his chest as if to hide it. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to," his words trailed off. My pulse pounded so loudly, I thought he could hear it. I shut the door behind me, stepping forward. "That's a picture of me," I said faintly. "Where did you get that?" He swallowed, gaze darting away. "It was taken a couple of years ago, at a barbecue. I ended up with it somehow, and I kept it." He paused, voice dropping lower. "I'm sorry. I know it's weird. Sometimes I look at it and wonder if you're happy. You look free in this photo." Heat flooded my face. I should have been angry or thrown off, but his confession squeezed at my heart. "Why would you think I'm not happy?" I forced a brittle laugh. "I'm married, I have a nice home, a routine." He sat there, shoulders slumped, meeting my gaze with an intensity that rocked me. "I think you deserve more," he said quietly. "And I know I shouldn't be the one saying that. But every time I see you, I sense there's something missing, like you're carrying the weight of the world alone." I wanted to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I found myself moving closer, drawn in by the vulnerability in his eyes. I sank onto the bed next to him, making sure not to crowd him. The photo remained clutched in his hands. Dim light revealed my face on that small piece of paper, smiling in a moment I barely remembered. "You keep my picture," I whispered, still stunned. "Why?" His gaze flickered downward. "Because I can't get you out of my head." My stomach did a flip. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us filled with the sound of our breathing, uneven and charged. Outside, the house was dead quiet. For once, it felt like the entire world had shrunk to just the two of us in this intimate, unsteady space. "Liam," I began, my voice trembling, "you know I'm married." He gave a slight nod, exhaling shakily. "I know. I hate how wrong this might be. But I don't hate how I feel when I'm around you." Everything inside me unraveled. Before I could stop myself, I reached out and brushed my fingertips over his forearm. He released a shuddering breath, turning his hand palm up so our fingers could thread together. The contact felt electric, as if it confirmed 1,000 unspoken feelings. "I've tried to ignore it," I admitted, heart pounding in my chest. "Tried pretending you're just a friend, or my husband's old buddy. But I can't keep lying to myself. I'm lonely. And you make me feel seen." He squeezed my hand in response, pulling me closer. The warmth of his body enveloped me, and a rush of longing ignited inside my veins. We were close enough now that I could see the faint stubble on his jaw, the rapid rise and fall of his chest. I don't want you to feel alone anymore, he said softly. His words, simple yet so full of emotion, broke the last thread of my restraint. I leaned in, pressing my lips to his inattentive kiss. It was gentle at first, both of us hesitant, hearts hammering with a mix of excitement and fear. But as he returned the kiss, it deepened, and I lost myself in the raw sensation of it. My hand found its way to the back of his neck, his fingers tangling in my hair. We broke apart briefly, gasping for breath. His gaze flicked to the photograph still resting in his lap, then back to me. A shaky laugh escaped me, half sob, half relief. I can't believe we're doing this. He leaned his forehead against mine. I've imagined it more times than I can count. My heart twisted. I shouldn't be happy about that, I whispered. But I am. The next moments blurred into a spell of tangled limbs and breathless murmurs. The guilt of betraying my marriage flashed across my mind, but it was eclipsed by the overwhelming need to be wanted, to be desired. For once, I felt alive, as though my heartbeats belonged to me again. And from the way Liam held me, it seemed he felt that same desperate spark. Eventually, we lay side by side on his bed, the photograph still perched near the pillow, a silent witness to our secret. I could hardly believe what had just happened, that I'd crossed a line I never thought I'd dare to cross. Outside, the faint glow of the moon filtered through the curtains, casting broken stripes of light on the walls. What now? I asked quietly, tracing my fingertips along his forearm. He shivered at the touch, but didn't pull away. I don't know, he confessed, turning his head so our eyes could meet. I only know I don't regret this. A tear slipped down my cheek, out of a jumble of relief, fear, and something akin to hope. I don't either, I managed, though my voice caught. But everything is going to be different now. He nodded, threads of worry knitting across his brow. I know. I'm sorry if I've made it harder for you. I silenced him with a soft kiss, letting my lips say what my words couldn't. We lingered like that for a while, in fragile peace, two people caught in a moment they both knew couldn't last forever. Eventually, I pulled myself upright. The clock on his nightstand read just past 3 a.m. I should go, I whispered, the realization sinking in that I had to return to my own bedroom before dawn. But, can we talk tomorrow? We need to figure this out. He nodded, sitting up with me. Gently, he scooped up the photograph and slid it into the drawer of his nightstand, as though safely tucking away a cherished secret. My gaze lingered on that drawer, my cheeks warming at the thought that he'd been holding my image moments before I walked in. I'll be here, he said simply. I paused at the door, turning back for one last look. The longing in his eyes made it nearly impossible to leave. I shut the door behind me, each step to my room bringing fresh waves of uncertainty and illicit thrill. I wondered if the hush of the house would somehow reveal my betrayal. Guilt knotted in my chest, but so did a tiny glow of euphoria. For the rest of the night, sleep remained elusive. My mind reeled with questions. Should I feel ashamed? Should I tell my husband? Or leave him? Would Liam and I ever truly be together? I couldn't answer any of them. All I knew was that the emptiness I'd felt had, for one night, been replaced by a sense of connection I hadn't known I needed so desperately. In the days that followed, we tiptoed around each other during daylight, passing glances in the kitchen or living room that spoke louder than words. At night, if we found moments alone, we let our affection burst free again, kisses stolen behind closed doors, hushed confessions, fingers brushing beneath the table. It was thrilling, reckless, and bound by secrecy. Part of me wanted to end it, to push him away before things got worse. But another part, the one starved of warmth for too long, clung to Liam like he was my last lifeline. I still have no idea what the future holds. My husband remains oblivious. I'm torn between the guilt of my marriage vows and the undeniable affection that's blossomed between Liam and me. I can't blame him, this was my choice too. All I know is that, for the first time in ages, I feel wanted, desired, and heartbreakingly alive. What should I do? A small part of me hopes someone can give me the answers I don't have. Another part of me wonders if I'll ever be strong enough to do what's right, whatever that may be.